It's my birthday today! Woohoo! Yeah! And it being my birthday, you already know the yearly tradition of me making a little rant video every year. So, yes. Now then, last year I did a rant video specifically talking about my plans for Yokai Watch as a story. But this year, I wanted to talk about something more about the channel in general, like my broad viewpoint looking forward when it comes to my animations. But now then, to start things off, first things first is quote unquote bad news. But don't worry, it's not like bad news as in like, oh, I'm quitting or anything. But this year, it's been something. First of all, it's been about 1 year since I finally started to try and redefine my channel. That being the new Yokai Watch intro that I made that's fully animated and redesigned with all the characters and everything. And in that regard, it's been 9 months since I officially started working on episode 14. And I am truly sorry about that, you guys. I know, and I personally, I'm apologizing because I know I personally have a really big procrastination problem. And I appreciate you all being so patient with me. And I'm going to go into why this is important for me. The reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing with working to improve my animations and everything is because personally, I have feelings about myself. Now, I'm not going to get too into this because it's not your all's obligation to know. But basically, to sum them up, it's like I can't really help but feel like a failure. And what I mean by that is just like, recently, these last few years, it just kind of hit me, I'm now 19. I don't have a job. I can't drive a car. And I mean, I started college, but I've gone from getting A's and B's in high school to barely breaking through a C. And, it's just, and I feel like I'm letting everyone around me down. Like, I have supportive friends and family around me, but there's just always this little voice or feeling that tells me, oh, I'm basically a fraud to them. And that goes into why I'm so adamant about this channel right now. Because I'm like 17, 18, 19, and I feel like there's nothing going for me. Now, I'll give myself credit where credit is due. For a couple years, there was a time where I was in this kind of volunteer theater group, and we went to an event called Junior Theater Festival, and 2 years we won trophies, but that's not really like a personal accomplishment. That's more of like a team effort. It's not really something that I've accomplished myself, And I just feel like the only thing right now that I have going for me is my animations. And up until this year, it feels like I have nothing to show for it. Like, I've been doing this for years, yet most of that time it's just been dumb little stick figures doing dumb, stupid, nonsensical things with no story. Now, this is where I go into why I appreciate you all so much. You know, despite still being small, I only have 400 subscribers and everything. But, it's just like I never really cared about subscribers or anything like that. I just want people to see. I want to entertain. But I look back and then I ask myself, how can I expect people to watch my stuff when I'm looking back at it and I myself am seeing and thinking that this is trash? This is why since before the whole attempt to redesign the characters and make it fully animated, I have never actually been proud of anything I've done looking back at it, but that goes into why I'm so glad about how I'm doing right now, because now, even though I've procrastinated episode 14, now I feel like I'm finally proud about what I'm doing. And even looking at it now, like my new intro for Yokai Watch, my first step in trying to make something that I could be proud of, was one of my first and quickest views to get to 1,000 views, and in 3 months. And to me, that it just felt so good, because now I'm finally starting to actually feel proud and pride in this whole thing. And for that, alongside others of my more current animations being one of my top videos in just less than a year, where all the other ones took over 6 years to get at around the same level of views that it is. With that being said, I just appreciate all of you guys, all of you who, even if you just watch the video, you don't have to like it or subscribe, but it's just like, I appreciate everyone who sees it, and especially the ones of you that comment on my videos. I love to read your comments, and I love interacting with you guys, and it's just like, it just makes my day. All right, with that out of the way, now let's get into the actual purpose of this video, which is my plans slash roadmap for how things are going to go with this channel from now on. First of all, I finally finished animating all the characters for episode 14, and I'm starting drawing the backgrounds as we speak. Additionally, episode 15 is about halfway written. Now, I intended for episodes 14 and 15 to be one big episode. Like, I was really trying to make it like a 23-minute like actual show. But you know what? That's biting off more than I can chew. So I ended up to like split it in parts. And episode 15, what I have planned for it, it's going to be more action-packed. And also, I have just started to write for my original series, Doku Moku. When I say I just started, I mean literally just started writing it, like 4 lines max. Now, for the roadmap, here is how things are gonna go. So, what I'm planning when it comes to working on Doku Moku or Yokai Watch, here's what I'm going to do with it, alright? So, after I finish doing the backgrounds for episode 14, I'm gonna post it, and then after that, I'm gonna pause writing on episode 15. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remaster every single past episode of Yokai Watch, but instead of doing individual, like singular remastered videos, I'm going to do a whole big compilation and only remaster parts of the story that I feel like are important. So there's no filler. And then after that, I will plan on finish writing both Dokumoku and episode 15, and then release episode 15, then Dokumoku. And then from then on, I will alternate episodes. I will have one video focused on Yokai Watch, and then the next video will be a Dokumoku episode. And it will be flipping and flopping, so on and so forth. This way, I can make sure both of the series get equal amounts of my undivided attention with them. And then additionally, although not really confirmed, I am brainstorming certain ideas for other original shows that I could potentially make. And I feel like there would be no better time than now to pitch these potential ideas for these new original shows that I may or may not release. It depends on how good Dokumoku does, because I know Yokai Watch is what gets the views, whereas Dokumoku is like, it's kind of on the back front of my channel. But the thing is, I don't want my channel to be just the yokai animator. Now, hold on. I love Yokai Watch just as much as the next guy. Hashtag save Yokai Watch. Bring Yokai Watch 4 in English. Localize it already. It's been years. But yeah, anyways, I just want to have a little bit more original works, But anyways, with that in mind, there are two ways that I could go about these original works that I may do. Nothing is confirmed yet. I'm still in the brainstorming phase of thinking, but yeah. Now then, there are actually two story ideas that I have in mind. And just like with Dokumoku, they are based off of old comics that I used to make, but these are actually way older than the Dokumoku comics. Like, I made the Dokumoku comics back in like 2018, 2019. These ones go as far back as like, since I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, so give or take 2016. Now then, there are two ways that I'm thinking about I can go about it. The first way could be, I can make it like an actual show, just like how Dokumoku have multiple episodes and a story arc. Or I can have each of them be a movie type, or instead of having multiple split up episodes to come together to an end point, I have one plot that's in one video. I'm kind of thinking on the latter, because whereas with like my Dokumoku comics, I always intended for it to be like to eventually be like a series and everything, whereas with those ones, they're very little short little comics that I made. So yeah, like I said, it's two separate little comic things I did, two separate like series or whatever, and I'm going to explain with you what I have planned so far. Now, the first one of these series is one that's based around ninjas. Now, I think this was around the time that I was in my Ninjago phase. So I made like these whole little comic books of these 4 ninjas just doing basic random stuff. And for some reason, there's characters that are based around the Wisps from Sonic Colors into it. And yeah. Now, I remember vividly, this was probably one of my favorite things to draw and make around that time. Like, I'm looking at all the stuff right now, and it's like a whole big stack of printer paper with this stuff. And looking at the stories, I mean, it's kind of about as incohesive and episodic as my Yokai Watch videos used to be. But also, like, there is a little bit of like an actual story here. Like, there was supposed to be a reveal that the ninja was like a secret alien. There's this one where he's fighting a zombie. He's fighting ghosts and everything. I honestly don't really remember what was going through my head but it's kind of nostalgic looking back at all this stuff. Now, as for what I have planned for it now, actually on my Instagram and TikTok, I made like 2 posts about me redesigning the characters and adding different lore to them. And this new lore is basically, instead of having it be based around Ninjago, which even in the original thing was only in one comic, instead of having it based around Ninjago, I kind of will have it be more like a Power Rangers type of setup where, evil alien comes to Earth and then they wreak havoc, and then the 4 ninjas or whatever, they stop them, and then there's like this alien witch that's the mastermind of it all. And then going back into the actual lore of the comics, turns out one of my main characters, which is the ninja, he's actually the heir to the alien tyrant's empire. And as for the lore of the characters specifically, I'm having all of the ninjas basically be super soldiers that were designed to specifically excel in one certain physical or mental skill. Like the red one is going to be, he's going to have super strength. The blue one is going to represent calmness and tranquility. The green one, which will be a girl, would be kindness and empathy, whereas the black ninja, which is probably going to be my main character, he's going to be more of like speed and agility. So honestly, that's about all I have for brainstorming and redoing that story. But tell me what you guys think. If you would like to see it, let me know. And now the second series idea kind of has a bittersweet, sentimental backstory behind it. And this is the one that actually has a name, whereas the one with the ninjas, it never really had a name. All of the comics were just the title of the quote-unquote episodes. But this one has an actual name, and it's called King Derpy. And the reason I said it has a sort of bittersweet or sentimental backstory behind it is because of when I was around first through second grade, I was living in South Carolina, but my mom and we moved to Florida around the time of third grade. And in the new school that I had moved to is where I met, honestly, I feel like one of my best childhood friends. And not to dox him or anything, but his name was Jordan Sanford. And honestly, he was just like a day one homie, honestly, a ride or die, as some might call it. And he was also really creative too. And like, he would always draw comics and everything. And I feel like he may have been the inspiration for me to even start drawing comics of my own. Now, as to why this pertains to King Derpy, see, the thing is, one of my things I remember is he would have a bunch of these eraser caps in school, like the little erasers that you put on the tops of your pencils. You know what I'm talking about. And he would draw little faces on them, and he would call them little Timmies. And he would get people to actually buy them from him. Like it was like about like a quarter or something, where you just ask him to draw a face on the eraser and he'll draw it. So one day I gave him one of those pink ones, and I asked him to draw a face of like a fish king, and he drew it and everything, and then he drew a little star on its like belly, and then he called it King Derpy. And I remember thinking that was like probably one of the coolest things of my 7 or 8-year-old mind at the time. Now, long story short, the reason I said it's a little bit bittersweet is because shortly after, like about maybe a year or a year and a half after that, we ended up moving again to a different part in Florida. And one of the last things I remember, I don't specifically remember what it was about, but I remember we didn't end off on good terms. And it's kind of sad because I don't remember specifically what it was about, but I remember some hurtful things were said, and even looking back at it now, it makes me sad because it's like I never had the chance to say I'm sorry. But one of the things I did after we moved was I ended up actually creating a story around King Derpy. It was kind of a way to kind of remember him by, as a sort. And then now, as for the story of King Derpy, the story in the comics starts out where there's this old king who's very, very mean, and then it does a time skip where he dies, and then my main character, which is, I guess, was a random guy, where the whole townspeople, they needed a new king because the king was so crappy that nobody wanted to produce an heir with him. So my main character was randomly selected to be the king, and then as he's like going through the king orientation or whatever, one of the royal wizards, this is a fantasy world, by the way. One of the royal wizards is testing out a spell, and he accidentally creates a spell where if my main character touches a fish, he morphs into the fish, like a fish man type of thing. I'm pretty sure I remember posting something on my YouTube post where it was like I was trying to redesign the characters, and I posted some little like concept things based around it. And then so later on, when my main character had touched his pet fish, which he had, he transformed, but everybody in the village saw him, and then they thought he was a monster. So obviously he was like fish sized or like moderately small. So then they threw him into the ocean. And then while he was in the ocean, that's when he stumbles across, I think eventually he finds like this legendary trident. And then he finds like, I remember, like, I'm looking at it now. He has like a little starfish companion, which like basically gives him like magical abilities. And then somewhere along the line in the comics, it delved into like there's like these sentient crabs that are trying to take over the land, and basically it was like this weird little final battle thing or whatever. I'll show pictures of things, obviously. And now with this story specifically, I have not done much brainstorming on what to do, mostly because if I end up making this, it's gonna be like a passion thing. It's gonna be for my old friend. I would want to make sure that it's like perfect and like a cinematic masterpiece. This is where the idea to make them into movies came from. Because as I'm like sitting on this idea, now, like I said, none of these two shows are confirmed to actually be made. But if I were to make a King Derpy movie, I would want to make sure that it is perfect and as like a kind of like what's the word? Kind of like a passion project, and it's like meant to go out to my friend Jordan. But yeah, honestly, dang, this video is like 20 minutes long, so I've been yapping a lot. But tell me what you guys think. Would you like for me to add these new stories? And what do you think about the roadmap for Yokai Watch and Dokumoku? You know? Also, once again, thank you all for another great year. And I will continue to try and find ways to entertain you all better.